Pull up my topics. Alright. As per usual, gotta get that drinkage. Wow, it's really good today too. Could have put a crap ton of honey in it. Woo, we are on air. 30 seconds. Okie doke. Vamonos. Let's go to one of them foresty places this time around. Alrighty. Welcome back. I don't even know how many people watch this. But, started off, I guess I should let everyone know that this week I am planning on taking a break from most technologies, I should say. I don't know if I want to say that. But a lot of the electronic entertainment, social media, video games, TV. I've heard some people do what's called a media fast, which is just essentially just taking a break from social media for a while. I'm going to do that, but with, like, again, electronics in general. Horse, you're going to run off the edge. The reason why I want to do this is because, I feel like there are things that I could be doing that are far more productive than what I have been doing. And now that school is out and I don't have something to force me to be productive, I want to develop some more productive type habits. Oh, hey, single viewer, welcome, welcome. This is Chill Talk with Brian. I don't know, it might be Shane. It might be a friend of mine that I know. But come hang out, chill for a little bit, just talking about random things that come to mind. But anyway, so this whole week I'm planning on taking a break from electronics, just to kind of, I don't want to say cleanse myself, but just to kind of make electronics feel a little special again, if you know what I mean. I want to develop more productive habits. I want to study classical Japanese more. I want to read some old Japanese stories. Actually, I plan on just wandering down to the library. I don't know, everything's Japanese, traditional Japanese stuff. I also have a Shinobue that I bought the other day. I plan on running away to the mountains and practicing that. And just, just relaxing a little bit. And getting away from all the stress and the constant barrage of information, and just kind of let my mind learn to better be with itself. I think it will help with developing sleep patterns. I do have a book to read. You know what? I think I will read that next week as well. That's technically on my phone, but I think it counts as... I plan on just turning the data and the Wi-Fi off on my phone for a whole week. I mean, there are going to be some things that I can't avoid. I'm actually planning on running up to a city that one of my friends lives in to watch the new Avengers. And we're probably also going to throw down on some video games and whatnot. So that day, I mean, I am going to use some technology, but that's like the only day that I'm going to allow myself to do so. But yeah, I think it would be really good. And I think I'm going to find that I have a lot more time than I initially thought. Hopefully this breaks a little bit of that hold that social media has on me. So I'm not just, when I'm bored, instantly go to YouTube videos and then just be annoyed that there isn't anything new out. Just kind of recenter, I guess is the term. And this ties into, funnily enough, a thing I saw on social media. An acquaintance of mine shared a thing on Facebook, something to the effect of, I don't believe we as human beings were supposed to live this way, working from 9 to 5 and never really living. I believe that we were supposed to be in tight-knit, loving communities, and essentially it was just like this hippie nonsense garbage. this romanticization, I think that's it, English, of either hunter-gatherer or agrarian style living. I'm assuming it was agrarian because I think they did talk about, grow my own food, grow your own food, or whatever. And while on the one hand I do understand that it is beneficial to get away from many technologies and to kind of reconnect with nature, as it were, reconnect with humanity as opposed to technology. I think that's important. I don't want to take it too far into renouncing society as we know it, because that is just a silly idea. Society, like the age that we live in now, is so nice. It is so much easier. We don't have to worry about, I was going to say, big life-destroying diseases, but as we've seen, if you've been paying to the news, anti-vaxxers have kind of been ruining that for us. So, we have vaccines for that. We have, climate-controlled living spaces. We have clean water and, fresh food at all times. Like, we have it really good. And I like society, and I totally buy into the social contract. It's one of the things that I want to point out to Marxist people. Marxist people are like, the system is just rigged to keep the elites in power. I'm like, yeah, so what? I don't care. Oh, well, they just want you to be docile so they can control you. Okay, well, you know what? If they keep me docile, then they're doing what they should be doing. What do I care? So I'm living a good life. What do I care if somebody else has, like, billions upon billions of dollars? Like, whatevs. Where is it going with this? So, but anyway, there's this notion of, we need to go back to early societies, which, again, I get to a certain point. Like, I'm going to be taking this break, but it's dangerous to take it too far because society is pretty freaking nice. I'm just going to say. Our mortality rate is really low. And again, there's so many good things. I wouldn't be able to do this if we lived in an agrarian society. I love the ability to also, have YouTube and whatnot, so I can look up different opinions, different analyses of all of this literature and entertainment that we have. I love having the technology we have to where I can study ancient Japanese culture, and if I wanted to, I could study ancient Chinese or Arabic, Russian, anything you want. There's so much good about our society. So to just say no to that is a little silly. I think we need to take a break from some of the more, I don't want to say toxic, but the more insidious aspects of it. And we need to really remember that we are, at heart, flesh and blood humans. We are spiritual beings, as it were. And to not get caught up so much in the electronic, digital, technological side of things. Because that will just lead to not good things, as we've been seeing in the last, 50 years. Okay. So that's my first topic. Just, reconnecting. What does it mean? How does one reconnect? What should one do to reconnect? What's the advantages of it? And what's taking it too far? Funnily enough, that same person is also the person who thinks that taxes in any sort of capacity is just utter theft. And I'm like, nah, man. you gotta reassess your priorities a bit. Anywho, this is an interesting thought I had a long time ago. Again, being a budding historian, I think about history a lot. And the other day, I was wondering where my ancestors specifically come from. I mean, most of us wonder about this. I like to say that because I'm a member of my church, I actually have free access to Family Search. And in that, while I'm looking around for my ancestors, the vast, vast majority of my ancestors are actually from England. And specifically, they're from the parts of England that the Anglo-Saxons settled. But, I mean, as with any human being on this planet, there are so many other nationalities and countries and even races in there. Like, I mean, there is some Scottish. There is a good chunk of me that's Scandinavian, mostly Norwegian and Danish, and, most of it's Northern European. There is a little dusting of Native American in there for me. Well, we don't know if it's a Ute or Paiute or Shoshone, but one of the tribes native here to Utah. And while I've heard it said that every white person and their dog claims some sort of descent from Native Americans, and it's always I forget the name of that tribe, the Cree or something. It's one of the tribes that was based in the southeast. They're always, oh, I'm the descendant of some Indian princess. It's like, nah, man, my Indian heritage is not a happy story, unfortunately. But I still think it's cool. I think it's awesome that I have a bit of even if it's tiny, a somewhat of a native tie to this place that I live in. I would love if my ancestry came directly from the Sandpitch tribe, this little Sandpitch band down in Sanpete Valley where my hometown is. But, I'm not entirely sure that that's the case, but at any rate, it is from Utah. But anyway, so I'm sitting here doing all of this, looking at this family history type stuff, and it just occurred to me, do you know how many ancestors we all have? Like, it's insane. So many ancestors, so many just progenitors. And if you think about it in kind of like science-y type terms, you are the culmination of hundreds of thousands of people trying to survive. Let that sink in for a little bit. That's actually crazy. So if you understand the idea, everybody knows the idea that a parent's love for his or her child is nigh immeasurable. And if we just kind of think that, parents, children's children also are like that, then you have like this sense of love compounded hundreds of thousands of times. Like, it's crazy if you think about it. It's not really a whole lot that I'm going on with this. It's just an interesting thought that I had. Like, again, the culmination of an innumerable number of ancestors. It's freaking dope, is what that is. So we're about halfway through. Gives us time for this next one. Although I kind of want to save that for later. You know what? Let's go with this one. Okay, so where am I going? I don't even know where I am. Oh, this is Phaedra's place. Anyways, so I'm a historian in training, right? That's what I want to do, is I want to be a historian, I want to study, I want to teach, I love teaching. And, do some research, learn some cool stuff, write some papers, make some arguments, etc., etc., etc. But I also kind of want to shake up the academic world, because I think there are a lot of things not really great about it. Number one being the freaking academic writing. Okay? When you write for a journal, an academic journal or something like that, you're supposed to use really, really professionalized or specialized language. Essentially what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to write it in a way that the plebs can understand. Which I don't get. So art is one thing. Art is an expression of abstract ideas that, sometimes is best conveyed through direct and forthright and, what's the term? Straight up, easily understood approach. But academic writing, it's not expression. It's not individual expression. It is to communicate ideas quickly and effectively, and they drill you on that. Like, when you're writing a paper, you need to be as concise and to the point as you possibly can. And yet, so that seems to tell me that they want to, be straightforward. They want people to understand. They want to leave out all the fluff. And yet, if you read an academic journal article, unless you're studying in that field, you have no idea what the heck they're talking about. Not a clue. I mean, I've been learning historical stuff, and for some of my last classes, been reading articles, and I'm just like, what are you even talking about? Why do I have to look up? Why do I need a dictionary to look up every fifth word I run into? This is not effective communication. Which, to me, just seems mostly like academics just want to sit in a circle and debate amongst themselves and shut themselves off from everybody else. Which, judging by practice, from what I've seen in a lot of academics, that's kind of how they view everything. They like being this elite group of thinkers and, philosophers. They like feeling special. They don't want to teach. There's so many professors I've run into that I've gotten the feeling like, you don't want to teach, you just want to research, but nobody's going to pay you money to just research stuff. So you end up teaching because you have to. I'm sitting here thinking, why do these people have a job like this? It's frustrating when I have a professor who very obviously doesn't want to teach me the things that he or she knows, just wants to throw some busy work at us and then go off and not offer classes when he or she says they offer classes. Get me really excited to take frickin' ancient Japanese history, and then, nope, canceling because reasons. Now, that's not to say, in this instance, there is a good chance that there probably is personal reasons, and that I understand, but it seems like this happens a little too much. So, I want to get in the academic world and shake things up a little bit. I want to write papers and things like that. Give me a second. I've got drink on my glasses. I want to shake up the academic world and write and teach and educate in such a way that everybody can understand what I'm trying to say. I want to make the things that I study and the knowledge that I have applicable to everybody. I want everybody to, if they want, be able to understand. Part of the reason why I got into history, because I came to more fully appreciate the fact that history is just one big story. It's a huge story. And yet nobody teaches it like it's a story. They teach it like it's a freaking school subject, which is stupid. It's really dumb. Nobody wants to be in school and study a bunch of stuff, a bunch of dates and weird abstract concepts. Just tell them the story. Okay? And that's what I intend to do, but also weaving in there the... Oh, what are you doing? Deeper concepts, deeper ideas, patterns of human civilization, and all sorts of things like that. I also want to get in there and kind of kick some academics in the pants, tell them to get off their high horses, and, I don't know who's going to be watching this, so I'm just going to refrain from using any other language, the things that I actually want to say. But you get the idea. I want to get in there and shake things up a little bit and bring some of these academics down a peg, back down to the level to where I am a person just like everybody else who just happens to be a researcher and a teacher. It's just what I'm good at. Doesn't make me special, doesn't make me an elite, doesn't make me anything other than a contributor to society. You know? Speaking of, that's how it ties into the earlier one. We all need to give a hand in society. You can't go along. I mean, we should help each other. We do need to help each other out. We do need to lend each other help, support. Because heaven knows we all need it. I have been a direct benefactor? I don't know. I have received the aid of other people before. More specifically, my dad. My dad has. When he was going to school to be... What's the button here? When he was going to school to be a pharmacist... I mean, we were in government aid. We got government support. Heaven knows we wouldn't have been able to make it without anything like that, without the aid of other people. My grandparents giving us money, apparently, and, that's just what we are as humans, as social creatures. That's what we do, is we help each other out. That being said, if you can help and contribute to society, and you don't, society doesn't owe you anything. That's just a fact. I mean, again, we're all struggling. I, myself, struggle. And at times, I need help. And I, as a consequence, am willing to give it. Unless it's just going to be squandered. My resources are precious. My time is precious. And therefore, while I do think we all need to help each other out a lot, and heaven knows some people on the right could stand to learn a bit of empathy, people on the left could stand to learn a little bit of responsibility. Anyway, I don't know how I got on this sidetrack. But yeah, going back to my original thing, my goal is to contribute to society by teaching and researching. And we'll get into the importance of specifically what history does for people and why I think it's important. I do think it's important, but not to the degree that some historians seem to think it is. I mean, you know what? I guess we can just talk about it right now. No, we'll save it for later. Yeah, that's the goal. Shake up the academic world. And if any of you rascals want to help me along, I mean, we live in the age of social media. My idea is, if I get to that point, I need to support. If they got enough traction on social media, no matter how much the arrogant, elitist academics would hate it, I mean, yeah, that would be cool if we could all show them. Inevitably, though, the thing about academics is, especially humanities, is it's all based in argumentation. You have to be good at debating. Because, especially with history, we don't actually know anything that happened. Nobody was there. Well, some people were there if you look back in recent history, but, a lot of this stuff is speculation, conjecture based on evidence that we have, and so nobody knows. So that leaves the floor for a lot of debate. One of the classes that I took with world history, we read 2 different books by 2 different dudes. And the one guy, the ultimate question that both of them were trying to answer was, why is it that the Western nations eventually came to rule the world, essentially? Western culture is undoubtedly the dominant culture right now. Everything westernized when it became modernized. So the historian's question is, why did that happen? Was it military? Was it simply because of military might? Yes or no? If yes, if no, why? And the thing that both of these authors of this books came to the conclusion, geography actually played a huge role in everything. The original how do you say, the original civilization, the first civilization that we can... I mean, it's debatable which civilization came first, but most scholars tend to agree that it was probably Mesopotamia. And the reason why Mesopotamia became the cradle of humanity, the cradle of, not humanity, the cradle of civilization, was because it was situated between two fertile rivers. There were a lot of domesticable animals and domesticable plants. You know, you had like wheat and barley and oxes and pigs and horses, yes. But there were a lot of domesticates. China also, in the Yellow River, I think it was one of the original civilizations. Same thing, lots of domesticates, lots of fertile rivers that flooded fairly regularly. The Indus River valleys, Foxen. What do you mean, Foxen? Anyway, I get a drink. Anyway, Cradle of So there were these key places that were ripe for civilization because of their geography, because they were out in the woods the key civilizations that were in fertile places with a lot of domesticates. Then you contrast to like the Native American civilizations that never got quite as big as some of the West Eurasian ones. And the reason why is because, part of the reason why is because, geography. Like in Eurasia, because it's situated mostly on an east-west axis, the climate stays the same across vast expanses, vast swaths of land. I mean, the temperature in Rome is not that different from the temperature in like Chang'an or whatever some of the capitals of China were. As such, people traveled more, people traded more, ideas were bandied about more. So when somebody did come up with, writing, came up with building structures this way, or governments, or codes of law, or what have you, it just makes sense that it propagated more in Eurasia than it did in North America. Consequently, the only big domesticatable animal in the Americas is the alpaca or the llama. And those guys you only find in a small part in South America. Converse, also, by that logic, I mean in the Americas you have beans and squash and corn, and that's about it for your domesticatable plants. I think maybe tomatoes. I don't remember. I think potatoes are in there too. But not as many as you find in Eurasia. And so these two, getting back to the original thing, these two dudes, they look at these things and they argue why the West became as big as it is. But one guy focuses solely on geography as it is, whereas the other guy, he does a good job at realizing that geography, climate, and things have changed over the course of human history. For example, in the late medieval periods, we had what was called the medieval warm period, where the Earth was really warm comparatively. Then immediately following, we had what was called the Little Ice Age, which not that long ago, we just hopped out of. But during the Little Ice Age, everything was really, really cold. And depending on the climate, the medieval warming period, actually, this one guy argues, is one of the big reasons why the Roman Empire and the Han Empire of China fell. Because the climate changed, places where you could grow food, you couldn't anymore, and you had to grow them in different places, so that shifted power. This combined with attacks from the nomads in like the Mongolia and the Huns and whatnot, the steppe nomads as they're called. All this fighting over fewer resources and whatnot, eventually the empires just broke up. So, but the ultimate point that I'm getting here is, in academia, you have two separate arguments, and these guys would probably argue over how important climate change is and how important the changing of the geography is to determining human history. So going back even a step further, if I were to become an academic and if I were to garner a lot of support of people on, say, like social media and be like the common man's academic, there would still be academics who would argue and debate and disagree and probably hate my guts because reasons. But, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, so that's about half an hour. That's where I'm going to try to keep these videos to. Just, again, something to wind down with, think about. Don't want to take too much of your time, make it too much of a commitment. But yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys at a later time.